Okay. Okay. Okay, everyone, kindly sit straight with your spine in alignment. If you're sitting on the floor or on a chair, either one, your knees should be relatively the same level as your hips. If you're in a chair, your feet should be underneath your knees. You want to lift up from your abdomen with a big inhalation. And roll your shoulders back a little bit so you feel your shoulder blades resting on your back comfortably. Your head and neck are in alignment with your spine. And your hands are comfortable on your lap, on your knees, on your lap. And gently close your eyes. Take a deep, long inhalation and hold your breath for a couple of moments, a couple of seconds, and then slowly exhale fully. And simply feel relaxed. Just quickly scan your body from the feet all the way to the top of your head and notice if you're holding any tension, and release it. Also notice where you're holding tension and then release it. Okay? Then bring your attention to this moment. Try not to think of anything in the past or anything in the future. Simply try to be right here and now. We'll chant Om 3 times together. And as we chant Om, imagine it rising up from your navel area and up through the top of your head, purifying your body, your mind, and the whole atmosphere. Okay? Chant loudly. Inhale. Try to feel the vibrations of the syllable Om reverberating around through your body and the atmosphere around you, purifying. Now focus on your breath. Be aware of every inhalation and every exhalation. Simply watch your breath from when it enters the nostrils and goes down through your air tube into your lungs. And then watch it again as it exits your nostrils. Simply watch the rhythmic flow of your breath. Feel calm and serene, like a rippleless lake. Now with every inhalation, infuse with the sound Ma, and with every exhalation, infuse it with the sound Om. Ma as you inhale, and Om as you exhale. Ma is divine love, and Om is divine light. Simply feel the vibrations of Ma with your inhalation and Om with every exhalation. Ma, Om, Ma, Om. In between, you may try to feel the love and light within you. Now we'll close the meditation by praying together for the happiness and peace of all beings everywhere by chanting Lokaha Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu together 9 times. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om.
Thank you, Swamini Amma. So, a small intro about Swamini. So, Swamini Ambikamrita Prana met Amma in 1987 after finishing her higher studies at UC Berkeley. She has been living in Amma's ashram since 1989 and helped to establish the first North American ashram in San Ramon, California, which began that year. She lived in Amritapuri, Amma's main ashram in Kerala, India, for 10 years before Amma sent her back in 2004 to America to serve the devotees by providing opportunities to deepen their sadhana through satsang, pujas, meditation, and Amrita Yoga classes. She is currently based in MA Center, Chicago, and travels to different centers and satsang groups around the country. And also, our topic today is how do ancient universal truths apply to our modern career, personal identity, and daily ethics? So, today's talk focuses on the individual's relationship with the eternal way, offering a framework for living a life of integrity, balance, and deeper self awareness in our fast paced modern world. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Namaskar, everyone. Actually, I had sort of I was telling Shiva Jyoti I had also my own agenda kind of. We have been working on trying to understand the needs of the youth, the AYUDH youth in North America, and how to serve the youth better so that they can feel a part of it, and also that they can articulate, what is Sanatana Dharma within their lives in whatever aspect of life that they're living. For myself, I became really concerned when I was talking to a few youth, and I was asking them how it is, growing up in as a Sanatana Dharmi, a Hindu in the Christian country, and how are you able to relate? And the answers I got back were rather surprising. It's people don't want to, even if people ask, people don't seem to want to engage, or they don't know how to answer. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the Sanatana Dharma, and I'm interested in knowing how you all relate to Sanatana Dharma in your life, in your workplace, in your school, with your relationships with other people, and so this is where sort of I'm coming from. By the way, happy Adi Shankaracharya Jayanti. Today happens to be an auspicious day. It's the birthday celebration of Adi Shankaracharya, who brought back the original Sanatana Dharma, from some ages when it was being, kind of poisoned a little bit by selfish interests. So he brought back the pure aspect of the Vedanta in Sanatana Dharma, along with Bhakti, which is so beautiful. I'm just wondering, I guess we don't have so many people putting their cameras on, but I was wondering how many people were grown up with Amma, how many met Amma when they were children, and the people that I can see, how many people met Amma when they were kids? Oh, really? Okay. Well, that's interesting. Are there any banana babies? No? Okay, great. I mean, not great, but I mean, that's interesting for me. How many people went to ABK in one of your satsangs? Yeah. Okay. So I just want to share a little bit also about my experience, which might give you some context in a Christian world. You know, I was raised a Christian as a Roman Catholic, actually. And ever since I was a little girl, you know, I felt God in nature. And I was very devoted to Jesus. But even as a child, I remember as a little child, I remember after we started going to a Sunday school, you know, I always felt there was some difference between what the church was teaching and what Jesus was teaching. So I did go through a period in my teens and my early my 20s actually, of actually no faith at all, feeling very lost, very dry. I was sincerely seeking, but I couldn't find and rest in any place that I really felt was authentic, you know, really living the teachings of Jesus. And I was afraid to look east, actually, because I indoctrinated quite a bit by the church's teachings, you know, about, you know, having so many gods and goddesses and all this. It was very foreign. And also when I was, you know, a young adult, teenager and young adult, we did have some, you know, swamis who had come who didn't have the best intentions. You know, they got a little bit corrupted by our society here. So I started thinking maybe all this is just a fairy tale, like a Santa Claus, you know. But finally, when I was in graduate school, I had sort of you know, a crisis, you know, in school. I did really well. I studied landscape architecture, and I did quite well. But the very last course was a challenge for me. And I remember I finally turned to God again, you know, and I really prayed. I prayed hard. I said, Lord, you know, if you are real, you know, this is when I really need you. And this is what happens when we reach a down point, you know, the bottom of the barrel, basically. You know, we finally, our last hope is that hope that magic that we learned about as a child, is that really true, you know? And sure enough, I got the answer, and I was guided. I felt very guided personally by the divine, you know, that helped me through that phase. And so that made me realize that, you know, my God, you know, I need to know more about this. I mean, I topped that course, actually. And I wasn't so excited about that. I was excited about knowing that actually God exists. And so I started seeking, and that led me to Amma. I found out there was somebody that I knew who was helping to organize Amma's first world tour in 1987. And so he showed me the video of Amma, and that was it. I saw Amma, and I just knew, I could just tell that she was somebody who could help me to know God. And so you know, long story short, I started moving with the satsang in the Bay Area. I was in Berkeley, going to UC Berkeley. And I started moving with the satsang there, and got to know everybody in that satsang, and I helped with the ashram there get established with my whatever training I had in landscape architecture, and started touring with Amma in the summers. You know, one summer, like the second summer of touring, when we were in New York, we walked out of Amma was doing programs in the Universalist Church, beautiful church, and I came out with a group of people, and there were all these people by the corner of the street, Christians who were wanting to convert us, you know. So they came up to us and started talking about Jesus and doing all this, and I had never been on the opposites. I mean, I've never been one of those people who used to do that, but I also had never imagined what it would be like to be on the receiving end. So I got a little taste of it. And so somebody, you know, they were very, very sincere. a lot of fervor and a lot of power behind their, like insisting kind of that we, believe whatever they were saying. And so I let the young man, say his piece. And I just looked at him and I told him, I said, I really appreciate your faith that you have in your chosen path. I said, I love Jesus too, but I have found a different path that I love. I found my own faith. So I love Jesus, but I don't believe he's the only Son of God. But anyway, this young man, fortunately, he was like, oh, he understood, and he let me alone. But the other day, at one of Amma's programs in Amritapuri, one devotee gave a satsang, an Indian woman, and she was talking about her college days. She is a teacher now, but she was talking about her college days. And when she went to college, they put her in a dorm room with Christians, and they wanted her to join their prayer. They had prayers every night, and they wanted her to join, but she didn't want to. And they started taunting her, and criticizing, this path, with so many gods and how this. And she said that at that time she didn't have any answers for them. She didn't know how to talk to them or what to say. But she said, well, now after meeting Amma, now I would be able to answer them, And it's so important. Amma always tells us, like she taught us when we start the pujas. I happen to do some pujas still. And she always tells us to begin by saying that even though we are worshiping a particular deity, that in reality there is only one supreme truth, that one she did not even call it God necessarily, but one supreme truth. And that the ancient rishis could see that eventually people would start to fall away from the Dharma. And so they needed a way to bring us back, basically. And so they knew that God, this supreme consciousness, the supreme witness, the supreme intelligence, will come to each one of us according to the way that we call. And so these stories of all the different gods are steeped with deep lessons, deep truths about how to live life, how to live a noble life. And so people from the outside don't really understand this. Like there's a beautiful story of Dhruva, the pole star, is in the Bhagavatam. Amma says the Bhagavatam is beautiful. It has the truth. It's a history of Sanatana Dharma in a way, but you also have to take the gems, and she says you have to throw away the peeling and take the real meat of the lesson. And so like the story of Dhruva, he was a young prince who was, his father had two wives, and he was the son of a maid, and the other wife was a queen or Brahman. And so he had the lesser claim on the throne. And anyway, his stepmother insulted him one day very badly, and he felt terrible, and he ran to his mother, Suniti, and she told him that the only way, that it's true, that this is the way that the culture was at that time, but it's true, the only course you have is to go to the Lord Vishnu. So he, as a young tiny boy, he went out and he did a lot of tapas to please Lord Vishnu. And but he, on the way though, he was met by sage Narada, and Narada told him how to do. He taught him a mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, I think is the mantra. And so Dhruva went. He did that for so long, as long as the little kid would, that he really impressed Lord Vishnu, who appeared to him and asked him, what does he want? The thing is that Dhruva, through that tapas, well, actually, I should say that before he left the castle, he vowed that he was going to be greater than his father, and have a huge kingdom himself. And that's what he went out to do tapas for, to get a kingdom. And so Lord Vishnu asked him after he'd done so much tapas, and Dhruva had purified his mind. And Lord Vishnu asked him, what do you want? And it's like, Dhruva forgot about the kingdom. He says, I only want to have, to be devoted to your lotus feet, basically. I want you. And he forgot about the kingdom. But Lord Vishnu didn't forget. So he told him, no, don't worry, you will succeed your father, afterwards. And even beyond that, you're going to become a pole star, the star that we see in the north. And so anyway, how does this happen? So he goes home, he forgives his stepmother, he forgives his father for not standing up for him. And he they live happily ever after, basically. So what does it teach us? That, unwavering devotion, it can lead to that divine realization. And it can overcome any obstacle. And the perseverance that he did, the determination and perseverance he had, maybe for a material gain in the beginning, because of that penance and the purity of his mind was purified, he was able to change that into something that was very beautiful. And so that now that he's king, he will be able to serve in a much more dharmic way, without anger, without this. He will have more peace of mind, more calm, more witness consciousness, so he'll be able to make the decisions that he needs to make. And it also shows how important the role of the guru is. Sage Narada gave him the mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So seeking the guru and getting the guru's guidance is key. And like I said, his desire was transformed from a worldly desire to a spiritual desire, and that gave him everything. Like Amma says, Devi, it's like bhukti mukti pradayani. You get both worldly and spiritual wealth by living the dharmic life. He was able to forgive. He was able to follow his inner guidance. That's what each of us needs. These lessons, these are like important lessons for each of us to have. And finally, karma and rebirth, that whatever we do now in this life will have an impact on whatever next life we have. And we have to accept that what we have in this life is some response to the past life that we had. So what's interesting is Amma has given a wonderful book. It's called Satyam Sanatanam, Answers on Sanatana Dharma. Everybody should write that down, and you should read it, because it is amazing, really. She gives so many answers on many questions that have been posed to her about Sanatana Dharma. For me, reading Amma's books and listening to her teachings have really helped me understand the lessons, especially of the Gita. Because Amma's teachings has everything needed. But when you read her teachings, you get so much out of it, and it's so down to earth, down to our level. If you read that first, and then you go to the Gita, which gives more of a systematic way of understanding the Dharma, Sanatana Dharma, what is action, what is karma, what is surrender, selflessness, all those things. And very importantly, how the gunas, the sattva, rajas, and tamas, how they play such a huge role in our experience, So after reading Amma, I went to the Gita, and I understood that everything completely made sense. I was born in what you call the me generation, There was a book, famous book out during those days. I didn't read it, but everybody else was reading it. It's like, I'm okay, you're okay. Basically, anything goes, you know. I'll do my thing, you do your thing, you know, regardless of how it affects anybody else. You might have remember there's the story that Amma tells about a boy who came to the ashram early years, and a Western boy, probably American, I don't know, maybe he was European, but he was in probably my generation, and in the early days, and he was smoking a cigarette on the ashram grounds, and Swamiji told him, you know, we can't do that here. You have to go outside the ashram to smoke. And he told him, he just says, well, I'm my own boss. You can't tell me what to do, you know. And Amma was, you know, Swamiji went and complained to Amma, but I can't remember whether Amma said something to him, but I think anyway, he went out and he ended up going to jail, or I think he went to prison. Got thrown into an Indian prison because he was caught somewhere smoking marijuana. And after he got out, he went back to Amma and he says, "You were right, Amma. I'm not my own boss." You know, definitely, you know, he changed. You know, it was a hard lesson, but he got the lesson. So good. For me, I think after meeting Amma, the biggest thing was understanding. You know, after being in a generation like that, the understanding the value and the importance of selfless love, and that it exists, that it can exist. It has to exist in us first before we really experience it in others, or maybe we experience in others if we're fortunate enough, and then hopefully we don't become selfish through someone else's selflessness. So selfless love, selfless service, and learning to be a witness of my thoughts and actions and reactions. Very important. That's why meditation is so important, to have even just 5 minutes of meditation like this, what we just did, a few times a day, just to bring yourself back to center and witness your thoughts or what you're going through. You know, if we're going through something or if somebody has said something, to witness your reaction and then to ponder what is a good response to that and how do I move forward through this. These things are very, very important to keep us grounded and to align ourselves with the noble values. The Upanishads are a amazing way to understand Vedanta, but it also has a mixture of devotion plus Vedanta. There's a beautiful poetic rendering of the Upanishads that is written by Swami Prabhavananda of the Vedantic Society of Southern California. He is no more. It's a simple book. It's very easy to read and understand in a way, but it's poetic and it has a beautiful, it's really shows you that the Upanishads really resemble Amma's mantra, Ma and Om, that love and light, you know. Really you see it woven all the way through the Upanishads. So beautiful. I would really recommend that for anybody who's interested in getting a taste of the Upanishads. And then, of course, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. You know, common people don't really understand the real great significance of those scriptures. They're historical accounts mixed with a lot of, you know, psychology and ethical lessons. So it really requires someone to help us to break it down. You know, there's a lot of symbolism and subtle nuances. And Amma has done that too. I don't know whether you know, Amma has a book out. You know, during COVID time, Amma had many people give talks on Rama Rajya. And this book, the Ramayana Smriti by Amma, is a compilation of Amma's lessons on that Brahmarajya. So I would really, is my 20 minutes over, or what do you want? Should I move on?
Up to you, Swamini.
I wanted to just make a point. Okay, I just want to make one point that, like Sanatana Dharma is so ancient, yet it's still so relevant, today. Those sages that were there, who brought all these teachings out to us, I mean, they were living in this pure age. There was no internet, no social media, nothing to distract them. They ate pure food, they thought pure thoughts, they meditated, they were selfless, they had a deep reverence for nature. And these ancient teachings of the rishis, from their meditations, we have to also understand when we are living in this world, with this multicultural world, that these ancient teachings must have spread out through the ancient world, through the spice, travels that they did when people were actually a lot of trading happening even in those ancient times. It's very possible that many of the other religions actually came out of this, So, I mean, I'm trying to also to have people feel proud of this great heritage that's there. I mean, I think many of the scriptures of that we have, like in the Christian and the Jewish, have been inspired from the Vedanta. Like, for example, there is this great Shankaracharya of Kanchi, the 68th one. He was a saint. He's considered to be a saint. Is Jagadguru Sri Chandrasekharendra Saraswati, right? He wrote a series of big, thick books called Voice of God. And in it, I saw that there was one part where he said that the creation story of Adam and Eve came from the Upanishadic story of the two birds on the self-same tree. The two birds on the tree of life, the body. So basically, there's Adam and Eve. These two birds, it's a story about how the ego got developed suddenly, how ego came into being. Because before, it was just the Paramatman, and then the jiva has come from that, the identity, the separate identity, okay, the ego identity. So he said that jiva came to be for the Jewish people, Eva, because they don't pronounce the J. Yeva. And Adam was Atman. Atman and Eva. Adam and Eva, Atman and Jiva, basically. So he's saying that these are related. These stories are related like that. This problem is that Jewish people turned it into something else, like a downfall. Whereas, I mean, it was a downfall in a way, but the Jewish people blamed it all on the woman. It's not fair. But anyway, I think maybe sometimes it happens. Anyway, that's there. And many people believe that Jesus spent his last years, his formative years in India. There's a very big thing about that. In fact, that he spent time with the Nats, the Shiva devotees, and also the Buddhists. And that's why when he finally appeared back in Jerusalem and he started preaching, the Jews there were saying, no prophet has ever spoken like this. He was saying things in ways that were not common to their ways, which really makes you feel like definitely he did. And Amma had once told, way back in Amritapuri in the early years, in the 90s when I was there, she once told us that Jesus' Ishta Devata was Lord Shiva. So anyway, Jesus said, I and my Father are one and the same. Love thy neighbor as thyself. We have no issue with that. It's very Vedantic, but we can't tell that to the Christians, of course, but because they're not accepting that, so we don't want to be offending anyone. But anyway, it's interesting for us to note. In Christianity, it's faith alone that saves, no questioning. Whereas in Sanatana Dharma, questioning is encouraged. They want us to question, want to have a conversation, a debate. Shankaracharya brought back those original meanings of the Vedanta through that method of debate and to have a deeper understanding. So what Amma's Man Om represents that, She's got this Mahavakya, this great mantra that she's given us in this time, Ma Om, which is the union of just that, of love and wisdom, of selfless love and pure wisdom, pure intelligence, you could say, pure witness. So what I would like to hear from the AYUDHians, the youth, is, how do you relate to or identify with Sanatana Dharma? I mean, how does Sanatana Dharma work in your life? You don't want to have my life as Sanatana Dharma and then my life in the quote unquote world. People say, people complain they have two lives. We don't want that. It has to merge. Otherwise, how can we be complete individuals if we're split like that? It doesn't work. It has to merge together. Doesn't mean you have to go out and flaunt your religion. That's not it. But just to feel proud and solid and content. What it is. If somebody asks you, questions, just out of innocent curiosity, we should be able to articulate, how do we articulate our belief to someone else in a way that they can relate to. And then how does Sanatana Dharma show up in your life? How do you deal with life situations? How does it help you deal with different situations in your life? And also, for the my agenda too is, how can you, what suggestions do you have for Amma, North America? What can we provide to better prepare you to be able to articulate answers and questions from people, from other people who might simply be curious? So how do we help in that way? And what suggestions do you have which could help us also increase the participation of young people in our programs? Our population is aging, and how do we attract more young people into the satsangs? So I want to hear from all of you how you feel. Just anything is fine. I'm not looking for any certain thing. We're just having a discussion among ourselves. Yeah. We don't have to have any life-shaking or world-shaking things, to say. We could just...
I guess I could say something. I mean, forgive me because I'm not thinking. I'm just trying to start the conversation. um, Interestingly enough, recently I've been a bit embarrassed of being Hindu. Like, I don't like the term like Hindu. I don't know. Because a lot of times when people think of Hinduism, they think of like casteism and other things. And the thing is, like, I don't really know what it means to be a Hindu. So I remember like when I was in Korea or like Thailand, I would I would never say that I came from like, I'd always say like, like I don't necessarily like, I just kind of would be vague. Like I would tell my friends I'm in a period of questioning my religion, like what I grew up with. So I think like for me, some good things that have come from Sanatana Dharma is like, I like the concept of karma. I like the concept of like reincarnation. And also um I don't know if this is related to Sanatana Dharma, but the only thing that really resonates with me when you said like in our day-to-day life is Amma says like smile. And that's one thing I like. So that's one thing I try to carry with me. But a lot of times, you asked if we grew up with Amma. I grew up with Amma since I was 4. And I'm sorry to use the word cult, but I felt that growing up, I was too obsessed with Amma and, going on tour. And the messages I got was like, it's fine. Like, you're connected to Amma, like, everything will work out. But the truth is, I don't think that being connected to Amma means everything will work out. I think, like, even Amma wants us to figure out for ourselves, like, work hard. Like, I've always been struggling with school and things.
Mhm.
So I think, like, uh, I regret being so unquestioningly just like part of the community. I wish I like kind of developed a sense of things for myself, but I'm very thankful. Um, and part of me would like to say like the good values I got is from the community, but I don't like to say that because I think humans inherently have good values. I'm really not trying to offend anyone, Swamini. I'm sorry for being so frank. I'm very grateful. Like Amma and the community is such a blessing in my life, and I'm so thankful. I love this community. It's just more reflection of my own confusions. Thank you.
No, I agree with you. We are basically good. Even the scientists are showing that little toddlers, they exhibit a selfless, immediately they are always helping. They're very helpful, and only when that is natural. But they also found that when the toddler is even a two month old, we're talking like that young, even 2 month old, when they start to be given a prize or something for doing some for helping, then it turns into they're not going to help unless they're going to be promised something good. So this idea of the greed is also a learned experience, whereas in our pure state we are helpful. This is what many scientists are learning, are seeing in their research. So, but what happens is the teachings, though, in Sanatana Dharma are to help to remind us of that, because we're living in the world, we're living in a world full of all kinds of things, many different, negative things that we see all the time. I mean, look at there's all the war and the things that are happening right now in the world are really, you know, the drugs, the isolation, the so many things that people are suffering from right now. From not having that connection with that inner connection. We need to have that inner connection in order to be able to offer ourselves selflessly to the world too. Anybody else?
I did
I
also.
really,
Oh, go ahead.
oh,
Yeah.
are you sure? Okay. I was going to say, Swamini, I really liked when you said about that you were born in that generation, like that me generation. I feel like nowadays, I've been feeling like I see that more and more in our generation as well. There's a lot of um, I don't care what other people do, I'm going to do my own thing. And like
Mhm.
focusing on yourself, which obviously it's good to focus on yourself at certain times. There has to be discretion, but I've been feeling like there's a lot more of doing things without caring for others necessarily. But I feel like for me personally, I think Sanatana Dharma has helped me stay grounded with all this social media and everything, and like just going around, you hear all these things about people just doing things for themselves. And I think all these learnings that Amas taught us about being compassionate and, you know, trying to think of others all the time has really helped. So I just related to that me generation thing.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I agree. Anybody else? I wanted to mention also, you mentioned about the caste system. People do come up with that. The thing is that just that's one of the things that Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya came to do away with, because that was what do you call that was introduced, by a certain, group of people, and it just became a part of the society for some time. When the Sanatana Dharma, the true value, the true teachings of Sanatana Dharma had been, lost for a little bit of time. Not lost, but, they weren't practiced as much, valued as much. And so he's the one who really brought it back. And, with his love, his intellect, and all that, he was able to really show, the value of the original teachings. He was able to bring it out so that people could actually understand it. So there are a lot of things like that, that people still, unfortunately, there is still some of this casteism, among certain people, especially the people who were on top. And so you see that, but I think that, with Amma and many people, they're helping to bring that into more balance, at least in the Indian. I know in the West it's difficult, as you were saying, Vipa, that with the social media, everybody wants to have so many likes, and everybody wants to see their profile, and you see, this week it's this, and this next week it's going to look like that. And, people are, it's scary, because people are losing a sense of actually who they really are, the essence of themselves. And that's the beauty of having a community that is trying to live the life of Sanatana Dharma, so that, when we get tired, when we're in our workaday world, or in whatever we're doing otherwise, we have a community of people, of like-minded people who we can relate to and reinforce that goodness that's within each one of us. Anybody else?
Namaskar, Swamiji. Swamini, I don't know if it's not really a thought, but it's kind of like a question that I've been having for a while. So, when as I've been growing up, I always have like an aspect of like Amma in like my outside life. I'll wear like Rudraksha, or like sometimes I'll like when I was like in middle school, I used to put like a picture of Amma in like my locker, and like my phone background is like Amma. And when I was younger, like people used to ask me about it, and then I would just like articulate, oh, she's my guru, and like this is what we do. And I don't know, I didn't like the way that they like received it. It was almost like the way they received it made me feel kind of embarrassed about it. Like I have to say, it made me feel embarrassed. And so nowadays, like when people ask me, "Oh, who's that on your wallpaper?" I don't know. It's like I kind of just like I like say it very vague. I'm like, "Oh, she's just, like I found this photo on Pinterest," or like I try not to explain it. So like how do you explain like the concept? Because like I have other Hindu friends, so like the concept of like Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma itself is not that hard to explain to them, because like I have people that get it, and like people of different religions are understanding. But how do you explain like the concept of Amma and like how we do things? Like how do you explain that to one?
You don't have to say the word guru, because that has a lot of people's stigma on it,
Yeah.
especially since we had these gurus coming like in the 60s, who kind of caused a lot of mischief. So, in America, guru is not, it makes you not, even my own father, he really didn't like the idea of me, being so devoted to a person, a human being. And when I moved to India, he said, "Oh, please do send me pictures, but not of the hierarchy," But he came to really appreciate. What happened was is he appreciated later on. He told me, he said, "I'm really proud of what you're doing, of the life that you're living, and what you're doing with your life." He didn't feel like I was wasting my life. He felt that I was doing something, and even before he died, he asked me, well, what do you people do, when somebody dies, after somebody dies, So I told him, about the prayers and all that, and he said, oh well, good. Even though I don't believe in all that stuff, it's nice to know somebody's going to be doing something. So you never know how people are going to take it. But as far as like I wouldn't tell, but there, it was really funny one time when we were in San Ramon, before Amma told us to stop wearing white, everybody to stop wearing white, and people were coming to San Ramon, and we had, I think the I don't know, it was a royal couple from some European country. I can't remember what it was. It was a daughter or somebody, and a princess, and her consort or whatever. And they were sitting there and watching us as we were preparing everything in the temple. And then we overheard her husband turning to her and saying, "This is the real Hogwarts. This is the real Hogwarts." Yeah. But they enjoyed themselves, and they understood, and they really appreciated Amma. And then also another thing that happened, there was a woman in San Francisco State University during those days. She was coming and she was studying cults. And she said, I am going to check you guys out to see if you're a cult. And so we had 2 weeks of Amma in those days. And then so she came back after the 2 weeks and she said, I studied and I watched and I was observing you all. And, I decided you guys, you're not a cult. You're not a cult. You're a parody of a cult. You mean like, we were like wannabe cults, but we really couldn't make it because we were too independent. It's like a cult is like, you were very scared about whether, you're going to be doing the right thing, your wrong thing, and all this. And like we were, people, everybody had their own ideas and everybody had, they said, there's no way you can be a cult, I mean, even though underneath we know Amma is controlling everything I mean, we say those things outwardly like that, but it's not like she's controlling. It's like the Amma within us, the divinity that is surrounding all of us, that is so powerful in Amma's presence, that we feel it more. We can experience it more. But when they say Amma, I just say, this is somebody that I really admire. She's a great humanitarian and she's a spiritual leader in India, and she teaches us to meditate and to care for the people. You don't have to say guru. That's better not to say guru in these days. It gives people, like, I think, not such a great, they don't understand, basically. People don't understand. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yes. So I would like to share like a recent experience I had about talking about Amma and her teaching in a quite a difficult context. And I think I've like talked about it a bit in the last AYUDH session. Like a fellow Amma devotee recently killed himself in France. And I think like there a lot of people knew about it. I learned about it, and he happened to be a friend of mine. And it also happened. I think I was maybe one of the very few friend of him who was with Amma, but also met some of his non-Amma friend. So when I learned about his death, then I immediately called one of his non-Amma friend that I made friend with back in France, and then I actually went to the funeral that happened in France, and most of the people was people that he knew before meeting Amma. So it was a lot of people who had nothing to do with India, nothing to do with Amma, and sadly, for a lot of them, what they saw was all that because this guy, Satya, He passed away. He was in his 40. So there are some friend of mine. They knew him for like 20, 30 years. And what they see is that this great friend, sure, he has sometimes he has some psychological issues, but everybody has. And at some point, he goes to India and get into this weird thing with this weird like guru, and then he kills himself. And to most people, it just show like what's going on. Like our friend went to India, went into a cult, and he dies. And then it was difficult because I could see in a funeral, like some people were like asking me, so how did you know him? I was like, I met him in India. And then some people were like, okay, and they just stopped talking to me. And some people, some other people were actually curious and like, oh, so you knew some things about him that we did not understand. Can you explain? And so I had a chance to actually talk with some of the people who were open, and I'm actually glad to say that I think in the end, most people were actually open and really trying to understand, because I could also see that he was happy when he was in India. So that helped. But then there was some misunderstanding. Like people were like, but we heard about this concept of karma and like reincarnation. And so is it possible that he killed himself thinking that he could just reincarnate? And like, does this belief of reincarnation like pushed him to kill himself? And then I had to explain, wait, like if you like in Hinduism beliefs, if you kill yourself and it's your next life is going to be horrible. You're going to get a terrible karma. Um, and then people are also trying to understand who is Amma and what are people doing around Amma, like what's going on there. And also the other thing that also didn't help was that Satya, he was still young around Amma, he was still like discovering Amma. So it was also very much, and he really loved Amma. He had a lot of devotion. And he was not very careful about sharing about it in the right words. So sometimes when he was talking about Amma to his non-Amma friend, he would say things like she's a divine, and then people would not understand. And so yeah, and he had a quite like I think you could say it was a bit fanatic. And I think a lot of us actually are, at least at some point in our path with Amma, and I think it's normal. I think I've been too, and I still am. But some people can be a bit over the top when they talk about Amma, and they get so excited and they talk about her like she's a goddess. And for us, we understand, but for people outside in the world, they don't understand at all. And so I had to really, like the way I try to explain it, and you'll tell me if I was right or not. I just share like what I did. Um, and the way I explained it is that, like if you've been living a normal Western life and suddenly you meet someone like Amma, it's so big. It's such a change in life that it's like automatically you become fanatic, and at some point you will calm down about it, and
You
like
what?
kind of, huh?
At some point, you what?
You will, how can I say, like maybe calm down about how Amma is great, and like, how can I say this? Like be more balanced. Like what I can see is some people who just meet Amma, they get so excited about it, and they don't really realize how they talk about Amma. But then after some point, you become more mature and you understand that there are better ways to talk about your guru. And so, and I think Satya was very innocent in his way of talking about Amma, but he didn't realize that maybe he was like looking like he was in a cult.
Yeah.
So I had to explain that, and I had to explain that had he lived longer, probably after a few years, he would have talked about Amma in a way that would have been more understandable.
Mhm.
And yeah, and also another thing that I try to convey is that Amma is very simple. Amma just love everybody, and she just want the good for everybody.
Mhm.
And she has a big humanitarian project that like put in practice what she says. And I also really insisted that it's not like something where you go in a cult and get all kind of weird ideas in your head. It's really about being in your heart and being compassionate to people. And yeah, that's a point I really try to make. And yeah, yeah, but that's it. I think at the end people understood. I mean, the one who actually really wanted to understand, the one who did the effort to be open about it. I think they understood and they felt better and they understood better. At least I hope. Yeah. So yeah, just wanted to share that
Yeah, thank
experience.
you, Yananand. It's good that thank you for being there. I'm glad you were there to help them to understand a little bit more about Amma. How long? I don't think I know Satya. How long was he there in Amritapuri?
3 or 4 years.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
It was French.
And then how long was he in France
Um,
afterwards?
he kept going back and forth actually.
I see. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Okay, I'm really sorry. How long ago was that? That he?
a month ago.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah,
I'm really sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think you did a good job, but it's true. People need to understand how to speak about Amma. Definitely, I know also in the early days, we used to, but we only spoke like that within ourselves, between ourselves. We didn't go out and, claim these things. But, after a while, you, like you said, it's true. You calm down and you have more of a balanced, perspective. I think in the beginning, when in the West, because we have not had something so pure, so so pure in our lives that how Amma really she lives that example of goodness. She's just such an amazing example for each one of us to try to live up to. I mean, we can't live up to what Amma is, but you know, she teaches us these beautiful values of love, compassion, forgiveness, determination, tapas. A little bit of tapas is always good. A little bit, at least, bit by bit. And determination to move forward in the right, in a noble, dharmic way. So I think that's what we can get. I hope that anybody who has issues with being able to explain what is Sanatana Dharma, you really should try to get that book that Amma has written. I think it's even online. You can get it on Amazon. Sanatan. Let's see, what is it called? Satyam Sanatam. Answers on Sanatana Dharma. It's really an excellent one. She explains so much in a way that people can understand. And then also the Ramayana, her book on the Ramayana Smriti. A lot of questions that people have about the Ramayana are answered in there. So So Kaiva, Shiva, what do you think? You were going to say something, right? You didn't do somebody,
Oh
you
yeah.
gave somebody else the chance?
Oh yeah, I did. I could, yeah, mention some points that I was really interested in, but it is. I know we were going to wrap up the discussion at 10:15, but
Okay.
I really want to. I'll just say it like in 30 seconds. Um, I think one of the things about Sanatana Dharma, for me, that I really speaks to me is the kind of universality. I mean, it's in the name, Sanatana, like eternal, but um, I think these qualities, anywhere they are, regardless of your nationality or social status or anything like that, they're universal. And even, I know, like you were mentioning, the different religions and customs and traditions, and like we respect them all because we recognize the kind of universality. And I was even just today I was watching a video on like stoicism. I don't know, people here probably know it, but Marcus Aurelius, and he talks about having, you only have the right basically to do the action. You don't have the right to the fruit of the action, which is almost word for word exactly like karma
The
yoga.
Gita. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then he was saying even whether you're the Roman emperor or the other Stoic was, a slave in the Roman Empire, and he was also a Stoic. So
Mhm.
Sanatana Dharma is it's so like universal, and that's what speaks to me the most.
Yeah, I agree. Beautiful. That's good. How about Shiva?
Uh, for me, actually, Samyama, I feel it helps me to balance my life in a proper way. Like I feel the bhajans, meditation, mantra japa. These are all the toolkits that can always help me to create a right balance in life and also gives me a direction. Of course, like I can relate to what the people already told in the meeting, that it's very difficult, that my friends don't understand me. So sometimes it creates a gap between them and myself. That exists, but at the same time, these tools also empower me. They make me strong. So I think maybe I'll figure out slowly on how can I be more confident on my practices. It's I need not necessarily pull them into these, but I feel I can just keep these practices within myself and just make use of whatever it can offer. And also the important thing is I should not look my friends down to. They will have their beliefs or their faiths that can help them grow. So I think it's possible to grow together and still have confidence in your practices and do them properly. That's what I feel.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, the more that we do, that we keep a like a schedule, like my head said during New Year's. She wanted us to keep like a spiritual schedule. The more we stick to that, we find, when we really take the time every day, we find that the self-centeredness, not self, that's a bad word, not self-centered, but the centeredness within yourself, you know, that will help us to just stay who we are, because we're interacting with so many people, and in this day you see everybody wants to be like that person or that, or maybe, they get influenced by so many different ideas. But whereas if we are able to stay within our center, and we'll be able to move in an authentic way, a way that is authentic for us, and that's sort of a pure way, not tainted by the opinions of others, with regardless of what others think, to stay that course within ourselves, that balanced within ourselves. So, but I would love to, if each of you could jot down something and maybe send it to, Shiva or Kaiva, about suggestions that you have for us, like how can we, what kind of programs or things that we can do to help to bring more youth, into our programs, what kinds of maybe new programs that would be interesting to have, you know, and what can we do to help? You know, what can we offer? What kind of programs or classes or teachings that we can offer? I mean, Amma has everything, but you know, to bring all that together into one place, to help people articulate, you know, to let's say the, you know, other cultures, people who follow other ways, who are curious, because there are people who are afraid of Sanatana Dharma. You know, they're actually afraid of Hinduism. It's a mystery to them. And so we have to help them by articulating in a non-threatening way, you know, what our belief system is ultimately, and to let them know that casteism is wrong way back. It's no longer there, you know. It's ultimately Hinduism, Sanatana Dharma doesn't believe in casteism, even though it exists everywhere. I mean, you go to any culture, there is caste, but they don't call it that. But you can see there's hierarchy of, you know, whatever status. So like that, you cannot blame India, you know, being the only one that has this. I mean, it's human nature in one way. That's not. It's the ego, you know, basically. So Sanatana Dharma helps us go beyond that. So we should close with a prayer, okay? But if you could ask them, you know, please remind people to send you their
So
suggestions,
we'll try
okay?
to create a Google form and send across the group so that people can send
Yeah,
their responses and we'll forward to you.
perfect. That's great. Okay, good.
Yeah. So we have a bhajan by
Oh
Aarti
yeah,
from
yeah.
Sangaman.
Okay, good. Where is she?
Namaskar, Swamini, I'm here.
Namah Shivaya.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So today I'm singing Sri Rama bhajan. That's like very
Okay.
close to my heart. It's a very special bhajan for me. So yeah, I'll try
Okay.
to sing that.
Checked. श्रीरामचन्द्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भवभयदारुणम् श्रीरामचन्द्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भवभयदारुणम् नवकञ्जलोचन कञ्जमुखकर कञ्जपदकञ्जारुणम् श्रीरामचन्द्र कृपालु भज मन हरण भवभयदारुणम् नवकञ्जलोचन कञ्जमुखकर कञ्जपदकञ्जारुणम् शुचि नौमि जनकसुधावरं पडवीतमानव तडितरुचि शुचि नौमि जनकसुधावरं श्रीरामचन्द्र कृपालो भज मन हरण भवभयदारुणं नवकञ्जलोचन कञ्जमुखकर कञ्जपदकञ्जारुणं श्रीराम इति वदति तुलसीदास शङ्कर शेषमुनिमनरञ्जनम् इति वदति तुलसीदास शङ्कर शेषमुनिमनरञ्जनम् मम हृदयकुञ्ज निवास कुरु कामादिघनदलगञ्जनं मम हृदयकुञ्ज निवास कुरु कामादिघनदलगञ्जनं श्रीरामचन्द्र कृपालो भज मन हरण भवभयदारुणं नवकञ्जलोचन कञ्जमुखकर कञ्जपदकञ्जारुणं
Thank you so much, Chichi. It was so beautiful and devotional.
Namaste Shivaya, Arati. That was beautiful. Yeah, it was really beautiful. Thank you for offering. Yeah, really nice. So with that, we'll chant Loka, chant the closing prayers. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Just a small request if everybody could turn on their video for a moment so that we can take a group photo, group virtual screenshot, maybe.
Gayatri, Angie, Ekanath, Kiara, Xiao, Amaya, Grasshopper, Angie, Blaze, Raj.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Namah Shivaya,
she's
everyone. Thank you for
Shivaya.
joining. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you everyone for joining the session today.
Okay. Namah Shivaya. See you. Hope to see you soon sometime in one of the AYUDH retreats. Huh?
Namaskar.
Namah Shivaya.
Sure, thank you.
How's your trip in India?
Tuesday. Every Tuesday.
Yo.
We're just kind of, having fun.
Hi,
Thank you
Amrita,
so
Dheeraj.
much for recording.
Good. How are you?
How are you guys?
Good. How are you? How's Korea? How's India?
Kaivan, can you stop the recording?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we'll call you guys. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, this is being recorded. That's right. Oh, bye, Gayatri.
Bye.